Hey guys, welcome back to another little mini chit chat video, another little mini reaction video. Before we go ahead and get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff if you're not already subscribed to the channel. For those of you who are already subscribed, shout out to my Purple Heart member gangs. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for always supporting. You guys will see this video once it's off live and I've re-uploaded it. So thank you in advance for all of your support. Okay, guys. So I'm sitting here. I was supposed to be at work today, but I had a little minor injury yesterday, so I wasn't able to go in. So I've kind of been recuperating at home today. And like I do every time I have some downtime, I like to catch up on my shows, my content, get some work done, but get some like downtime in and catch up on my entertainment and all of that. So with that being said, I like to keep up with like my hip hop entertainment news and stuff like that. So I came across the it was like all over the internet, but I came across it today on one of the channels that I watch, about the rapper Yella Beezy being arrested and charged with capital murder, um in the shooting death of the rapper Mo3. And there was another word they put with it, rumor. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the word, but basically means paid for. So it was like a hire for murder type of thing. These are allegations, allegedly. They're saying that he paid this particular individual, who they have already incarcerated on some other charges, to kill rapper Mo3. When I remember when I discovered his music, and again, like with all great artists, sometimes you come across them unfortunately when they have already passed away, or they're so deep into whatever is going on that you kind of already know eventually something is going to happen, and they're going to come to pass. It's kind of where I was at when I discovered Mo3. I immediately loved the music just because he had like that soulful type of hip hop that I like, that I grew up knowing, liking. If I grew up in the era of like Biggie and like Jada Kiss and like Shine, like Styles P and those type of rappers, that kind of deep, harmonious type of melody that you can vibe to. Like the beat is just go crazy anytime they touch any beat, because they had that kind of voice. And that's what rapper Mo3 represented for me. Like I just immediately loved his music, and I fell in love with that song Outside. And it was kind of crazy because you know again, with a lot of great artists, they kind of predict their death, like in their videos, in their visuals and things like that. And it's always eerie when it comes to pass, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what the video Outside was for me. It was just kind of, it was crazy that he had passed away. So over the years there's been a lot of like speculation, sorry, videos, conspiracies. Everybody had their opinions, but lately, over the years, the pieces kind of started falling into play, and I'll explain why that came about. Like, I know for a lot of people, for me, I kind of connected the dots right away, just because the way my mindset is. It's always your friend. It's always the people closest to you. It's always the people that you trust and you turn your back to, that always end up taking your life or having your life taken. So my mind was already there years ago. For a lot of people, I've seen videos where people are saying, I thought we solved this like years ago. But officially, the police already had it solved too. They're not stupid, which is why they had, the shooter sit in jail for how many years, give him some time to think if he wants to give up, whoever paid him to carry this out. Like, they know you didn't do it on your own. They've already connected the dots. They're a lot smarter than people think, especially when it comes to this, like, hip-hop beef and in the street stuff and stuff. Everybody knows by now, because we're all people who grew up in that era, like myself and other people in their late 40s and their 40s. They know by now how the system works. They always know everything. There's always somebody on the inside. There's always a weak link who they're leaning on for information. They always know everything. It's just very convenient for them to have people kind of eliminate each other. It's less paperwork for them, less manpower, yada yada yada. We get it. Okay, so it's never the case that they don't know, because if we connect the dots and we're not trained in this field, it's just common sense. You know what I mean? The people who are trained to collect the information, they're already in the know. So, but it's a matter of making things stick. It's a matter of not wasting all this money taking things to trial, da da da, only to have it thrown out on technicalities and messed up, weak evidence and all this stuff. So they definitely, when they're coming with these type of charges, they want to make sure they have all their ducks in a row. So that's basically all that is. They just let you sit in jail, be miserable. You're not in just regular jail, you're in the pen. So anybody who knows anything about this type of stuff, you already know it's hell on earth. So after 4 or 5 years, people are usually ready to talk, and especially if they start coming at you with some other stuff, like you're looking at like you're never getting out of here. And relationships change. People are not as tight as they used to be. People have to distance themselves from individuals because they don't want spotlight put on them. So people start to feel like, hey, I'm left out in the wind, kind of on my own here, and I'm gonna be the one who has to sit in here and look at this life sentence. I mean, like, again, we're talking life in the penitentiary. We're not talking life at a halfway house, a group home, a little county jail where you can still have your little girlfriend come look for you and all this other stuff. No, we're talking locked up 23 to 24 hours a day, depending on your situation. 1 hour of daylight for the rest of your life. Like, you're gonna die in here. Oh yeah, people, their perspective change. Like, if I'm in my 20s and I got to do 30 years and I could be out and when I'm 50, 55, like I said, everything starts to factor in. Life becomes real. Like, this is real life. This is no more like all this other stuff. This is you and your life. So people usually flip, people usually talk, people usually give up information because, like, they've been already getting a sample for the last 3, 4, 5 years of what the rest of their life is gonna look like. And that's with protective custody. That's with, people still looking out for you. What happens when they, like, throw you to the wolves because you refuse to give up information? Like, your life is going to be over. So, there's a lot that goes into all of that. But back to the story at hand. Like, when the dots started coming into play, I started watching a lot of these hip-hop investigative channels and the content and stuff like that. The story just started to fall into place like it always does. It's no different in that city, in Dallas, than it is in Toronto, than it is in Vancouver, than it is in New York, than it is in Atlanta. It's always the same in any type of environment where you have all this type of stuff going on. It's always the same playbook, right? So you always have to look at the people closest to the situation, who was most affected, what was going on at the time, all of that other stuff, and you're just like, okay, yeah. Egos, when there's like a huge amount of egos involved, it's always going to play out this way. Now the problem is, and I'll tell you what the problem is, that it's a lot different. And again, all of this stuff is alleged, but a lot of this stuff is already documented, legally. So I'm just talking about what the information that's out there, and I'm talking about the information that was put out there today. So what happened is, over the years, relationships change. Like I said, when I was growing up, loyalty was a lot different. People took like a huge amount of time for on the behalf of a belief and friends and this and that, and the, keeping it real and standing 10 toes down. People went to jail for like a long time, came out to find out, like, some people had good, reunions, and their friends looked out for them, and it was cool, and it is what it is. That's the lifestyle they chose, and they were okay with it. And then you had other situations where, like, they were left out in the wind on their own, came home to nothing. So the way people perceive loyalty these days is a little bit different. People are a lot more thin skinned. People are a lot more, you know self-preservating. I'm not here to discuss if it's right or wrong. It's just the evolution of the times. It's just where we're at. People don't place a lot of stock in that whole, ride or die to the grave, all that type of stuff, especially if, there's nothing being reciprocated. People still, will do a little 1 2 1 2 if you're looking out for them, if you're providing for their family, their kids, if they know, you're a man of your word and all this other stuff. But more than likely, people feel abandoned. People are looking at some hard time. Like, jail is not nice. It's like nobody can ever, convince you that jail is cool. Like, I just watched the Blueface video where he's doing his update in prison, and he's outside, for the first time in God knows how long, and he's talking about how good it is to, get out and get some fresh air. And they were asking him, like, if he had any advice for the youth, and his advice was, don't come here. And that's the realest advice you can give, right? It's not fun, 6 7 8 people to one cell, eating, going to the bathroom, sleeping in this one particular space. Like, come on. So, times have changed, and I'm not surprised that this came about. Anybody with any common sense these days who watch any of these investigative shows, you already know how these people operate. They let the environment do the work for them. They don't have to, like in the movies where they have you in a room for hours on end, like interrogating, torture. Nah, we just send you upstate. We're gonna send you to the pen. Yeah, give you a little taste of, give you a little preview of what your life is gonna be like. And after about a couple years of all of that, oh yeah, it's over with. So that's kind of my take on it. I'm not really shocked or surprised. Excuse me. I do know that this is gonna drag on for a little bit if, people have good lawyers, and the legal justice system will do its thing, and more will come out. As always, we're gonna find out a lot more shocking, non-shocking information about who knew what, and who always been new, and who didn't stay, and who this and that and the third, and everybody getting thrown under the bus. This was a really, really emotionally charged time. I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember watching that video outside and just crying. Like, it was just such a sad, it was a sad moment. I'm one of those people who, like I said, I grew up in the era of Pac and Biggie. So, like, I understand clearly, and I grew up in the society where this stuff was par for the course. I lost a lot of friends growing up. A lot of people did not live to see their 40s. I give God thanks every day that we're here with our children. It makes me so happy to see some of the people that made it out with their grandkids and stuff like that, because a lot of people didn't make it out of the 90s and the 2000s. Let's just be for real. We had a summer over here called the summer of the gun. Like, it was just one murder after the other. So, I'm well aware of there are no angels in any of these stories, but everybody's somebody's child, and everybody's mother is gonna cry for them when they're gone. And I'm a mother, and I can always empathize with that loss. You carry a child, you birth your child, you hope for the best. Unfortunately, sometimes environmental influences, take over, and there isn't much that you can do but love your children and take care of whatever you can help them take care of, as long as they're here and when they are no longer here. So, I'm not here to ever place judgment on anybody. We're all human, and human loss is human loss. And people cry. Tears are real on either side. So, it's just really sad that it all came down to this. And what makes it extra sad is that they were friends at one point. It just goes to show you how bad things can get when egos are involved and people are not able to put that to the side and work out things constructively. We always have these very sad, long, drawn out situations that are just traumatizing for generations. It's not just the people it happened to, it's their children, the people involved, and their trauma. And, it just keeps on going. It's a vicious cycle. Unfortunately, now with all this information coming out, I'm pretty sure there's going to be more trauma to come. So, unfortunately, this is all part of the same part and parcel. So, I just pray for everyone. People stay safe. And yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. And we'll catch up with you guys in another video. Deuces.